This is my time-lapse for building an ancient Egyptian tomb. At first, when I began building, all I was intending on doing was just a simple tomb wall, but in Minecraft. However, I decided it may have been a better idea to put it into a pyramid so it didn't look completely out of place. When I started building inside the pyramid, I realized it was way too big to just house a simple tomb wall, so I decided to ditch the plan entirely and make it into a pharaoh tomb. As I continued building, I added lanterns to give a more old feeling to the tomb around, and then I realized lanterns wouldn't have existed, so I decided to go with candles instead, which you'll notice after I finish building the tables. Speaking of which, I added gift tables where I placed valuables and other things I assumed a pharaoh would want going with them into the afterlife. Of course, this meant anything shiny or anything remotely interesting looking in our case. I also added a red carpet to brighten the room and add more colors. You may have also noticed I added a picture of a pharaoh. This was off camera. This was also to make the space look more utilized, and because I had little to no symbols or anything related to actual ancient Egyptians in the building at this time. Next, I began digging up the floor. I was intending on making it all sandstone instead of just sand, but then I gave up because it was going to take too long, and then I focused on making a pattern similar to the one I made outside. The next portion of the pyramid was where the tomb itself was go. After digging out a small room, I began planning how I wanted the room to look. I was also debating what the ceiling and lighting would look like. As you see, I went through stages with lanterns and candles yet again, before I finally landed on just using candles. After this was decided, I made a checkered roof with orange sandstone. After that, I began making a floor lining for the tomb in the middle. I decorated the interior on camera, but lost the recording, so this last bit is me just adding the finishing touches to the room. This came in the form of making the stairs bigger, replacing some unwanted blocks, and touching up whatever mistakes I made earlier on. I then ran into my next problem, which came back in the form of paintings. I spent a lot of time trying to place them in the right place and trying to get the right one. This took up a lot of my time overall, but once I got them in, I made more fire pits, which I realize as I'm saying this is not very historically accurate because it would make no sense, but I admit it's more of a creative idea I used to also fill in the room. Next, I finished up the ceiling and began trying to fill in the excess walls. At first, I was just going to put up some simple paintings yet again, but then decided I should add more mini shrines. These were meant to brighten and be more filling in the room, but also to show how loved and wealthy this particular pharaoh would have been, judging by how much gifts he would have gotten. After this, I repeated the shrine on the opposite side and added some vines and plants to make the tomb look old. I also then added dim lights high above the shrine to give a dimmed yet bright effect. Next, I added 2 pots, which I had to design by hand, and with different designs. So after I made those, I put them into the shrine and added this outer stair-shaped wall. Once I was happy with the result, I quickly added some finishing touches off screen and got this. Overall, I am very happy with the result. Despite it taking 4 days and a lot of creativity, I'm glad I went over the top.